Louis, in his press conference this morning, the West Brom manager, Tony Pulis, has suggested that having had a year to understand the club and everything about it, you will be expected to get a lot closer to winning the league title next year. Is that how you see your job? Is that correct, do you think?
The board of Manchester United have given 3 years for that objective. So, yes, it is.
How far away do you think you are from challenging, not necessarily winning, but really being in there at the end of the season and fighting for the title?
I think this year, okay, it is not challenging. But we are very close to the second position. I think Chelsea is far above the other clubs, but that can next year different, because next year we have also a different squad, and not only we, but also Chelsea and Manchester City and Liverpool and all the clubs who are battling for the first positions.
So just finally from me, you don't think the gap is so big that it can't be closed in 1 year?
No, because you have seen our matches between the top league clubs, so there's not a big gap. I don't think so, because you can judge that when clubs are playing the matches against each other.
What will be the key to changing it, Louis? Will it be spending money in the transfer market, more coaching, or just more time getting to know the players? What will be the key to bridging the gap?
Yeah. We need balance in our selection. I've said that many times. So I cannot deny that we need balance in our selection. I think also the preparation of our season. I think that Manchester United has already adapted to a better preparation. We shall have 2 basis camps in United States, so we are not flying between the matches. We are going via a bus. That's better. The temperature is lower because we are at the other coast as last year. So they have adapted to my criteria. So we shall have a better preparation also. So we have started very badly this year, because when you cut the start of it, I think we shall equalize Chelsea, for example. But now we have to start better then. Now, also, when I preview our preparation now, it looks better, but we have to see that, of course. Now, then we have to make the balance in our selection better. And then, then we have to perform at the moment that it has been asked. Then we have to perform better than this year.
One of the things that hasn't helped you is the injuries. I think you've had something like 68 this season. Is that a freak season, or have you put something in place to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, but I have said there are many circumstances that you can find it as the reason, because of the injury list. Because in the second part of the season we had much less injuries, and then we have also made the points already. So that's also what we can improve. But injuries is a part of the job, because football is a sport of resistance, and you can have injuries.
Have you seen enough on the practice pitch out there this week to think that the Everton performance was a blip and not something that will happen again between now and the end of the season?
As a manager, I'm now already more than 25 years manager I have said after the game, it is the first match that I have seen that. Now, as a manager, I have seen seasons with much more than one match, because I have said after draws that I cannot say anything to my players, because it's a fantastic team, it's fighting spirit and so on. But when it is not like that, I say it also. But we don't have to exaggerate now that they have one match that they were not at the top of the aggression or something like that. You shall always be compared with your opponent. And when your opponent shows more aggression, then you have to show that also. Otherwise, you are the underdog. And that's a lesson. But it happens more than once, normally. So I don't hope that it is against West Bromwich Albion again.
With that in mind, Louis, the way that West Brom play, and you said before that teams that maybe don't let United play are more of a worry to you than the teams that maybe are more defensive. So is that a real concern?
Yeah, that is always a concern. It is also the next step in our process. I have said it also to my players. We are playing much better. Also against Everton, we are playing in phases very good. We have a ball possession from 63%. Against a very defensive organization. That's not so easy. But the time for the opponent to intercept balls is also higher. And the space behind us is bigger than ever. Because we are always on the half of the opponent. So it demands also another attitude of the players. Because they are doing that now. So that's also the next step in our process. So we have to improve that. The rest defense we have to improve, for example. But when you evaluate the game against Everton, you can also say the referee can whistle a foul against Valencia with the first goal. And the third goal, you can say, tricky, that offside rule.
Louis, will Wayne be back this weekend, and are there any more injuries?
Wayne is fit. So it was not so heavy that we have expected. On the contrary, Shaw has a groin injury. Evans is injured also last week. He was 6 weeks not injured. And then he can play and he's injured. So that's unlucky. So that's the list.
Okay, can we move on, please?
Louis, would you see it as a failure, personally, if you didn't get the title in the next 2 seasons, so within your 3 years?
No, you cannot say that in advance, because a lot of circumstances you can never have it in your own hands. And as a coach, but also as a club, you are dependable of the circumstances. And you have to analyze if the circumstances are good enough to provide the title. And you cannot say that in advance, because a lot of factors you cannot control.
It's just you've always delivered titles.
Yeah, So it's more or less a guarantee for success. But it's always dependable of the circumstances also.
But isn't it part of your job to make sure the circumstances work?
Yes, of
You don't want
course.
for United to win.
Yes, of course. That's true. You're right. I cannot deny that.
So in that regard, what will you be doing to ensure the best possible chance that you could win the title? Is it about strengthening now? This summer, very important?
This summer is very important, yeah, of course. But that I have already said, the balance in the selection and also the preparation. But we are very busy with that.
Just with regard to how you train your players, you talk about retraining the brains. Does that mean that every time you buy a new player, it's going to take them longer to become part of your team because they have to learn your method of training?
Yeah. That's true. But every player has his, how do you say it, adaptation period. But, of course, I'm looking for players who fit in my profile. So it had to be quicker than players that I have received when I came here in Manchester United. Do you understand that, what I'm saying? Yeah.
Louis, you said a few weeks ago that Ander Herrera was a good example to Di Maria in terms of a player who spent quite a lot of time out of the team and then has worked very hard and done what you asked and is now a key member of your side. Is Di Maria doing those things? Have you been pleased with his reaction to being out of the team? And are you at a stage now where you're confident that he will be at the club next season, that the things off the field are sorted out now and he's working towards that?
I think Di Maria shall stay, and he's working very hard, and I'm pleased with his attitude, so that's not the problem. But also, the manager and also the club is always dependable of the opinion of the player himself. I've said that last week also. The player decide. At the end, the player decide, and we shall see what he shall decide, because he cannot say that he has a marvelous season here. He cannot say that.
So in terms of his decision, decide what?
No, the decision is not only to him, because now we have a contract. We have a contract. So we shall speak always with every player about the season, evaluation, like I'll always do. And then we speak with each other about the future. And that is with every player.
Do you like those players, though, Louis, that they might have had difficulties, but they're very determined to overcome those and stay, and not just go away because it's been difficult, but to try and address those difficulties and overcome them and come back stronger and better?
I like every player. I like every player, not only that player. I like every player who wants to perform how we want that the player performs, and he can convince me of the way of playing, or I have to convince him, and that's in every club what I have done, because I'm not a dictator that says you have to play like that. No, you can play, but we have team functions, and that is obligated to perform. But you can play how you want to play, but then I have to judge, and I have to compare you with other players in that position.
Louis, how much a part was the bad preparation last season to do with that? A lot of your new players came in very, very late, and how confident are you of doing things a bit earlier?
No, that is also, of course, you are right. That's also the consequence of a World Championship. It's also, but other clubs have the same problem. But I was starting in this club, so that's a little bit different. But it is true. The World Championship is always a factor in top clubs. because the top clubs has the most of the players playing for in national teams.
Do you hope to get your transfer business done quicker than this? See, I know it's...
Yeah, but that is so difficult. You cannot prevent that. Because every negotiation nowadays takes longer and longer.
Louis, you said Di Maria has not had a marvellous season. I know you don't put a lot of emphasis on prices, but he is the most expensive player in British football history. Did you expect more from him this season, and did the club expect more from him, given the fee that was paid?
Yeah, what I have said, a player has to contribute what we expected as a team and as a staff from each other. And normally Di Maria should have played, but the last weeks he doesn't play anymore. And the team is winning. Now we are losing, so the chance that he's coming back is higher. It's always like that. It's never that it is not like that. But the issue, or that he is not always in the lineup, yeah, that's also for him a disappointment, but also for me a disappointment.
Louis, is he one of the players that's suffering for the World Cup? He went to the World Cup, was injured.
Yeah, I hope. I hope, because you cannot always say that that's the main factor.
Because he has a busy summer this year with the Copa America.
Yeah, of course, it plays a role, and I hope it is that, because then we can have a fantastic season next season. But you have to adapt, of course, also to our philosophy. It's also difficult for him, probably, but normally he shall have a fantastic season next season. I believe in that.
Is Michael Carrick fit?
No.
Will Luke Shaw play again this season?
I don't know, because
it's not that
groin.
Just on Carrick, will Carrick play again this season? Because he's now been out for
Yes, because I had expected that he could play this weekend. So it's a matter of time, I think.
How much of a loss is Carrick? Because your win percentage with him, I think, is something like 72%, and without him it's 37%. He's a big player for you, isn't he, Carrick?
Yeah, I think when you see in our team holding midfielders, he is a holding midfielder, we don't have too much. So when Blind and Garrick has been injured, we have a big problem.
Is he one of the players...
Okay, guys, you've got to go now.
Is he... I was just going to say, in Carrick, is he one of the players that you talked about retraining the brains and things? Is he one of the players that you had to do, less work with than others? Did he very, very quickly grasp and adapt to your demands?
He is a player who can read the game. And that's our players I'm looking for, who can read the game, and not only individually, but also for the team. For the team, it's much more important. All the players can read the game individually, their own role. That's not so difficult. But to see it for the team is more difficult. Not so many players can read the game for the team. And that's why they need coaches.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Yeah.